All right, everybody, we are back again for another episode of the Coach's Compass. We're on season 3, I believe. Don't know what episode we're on. Just continue to record, continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. Remember, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so we continue how this thing grow. Continue to bring on cool guests. It's your boy, Coach Coop, and we got with another special guest with us today. I got my boy, Coach Julian Johnson, out of Nashville, Tennessee, running Coach by Julian. Also is coaching over at Rumble Box in the Gulch, right down the street from where I'm at. So, Coach Julian, welcome and thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I really appreciate you making some space for me today and just reaching out, and feel humbled that you even want to hear my story. So I'm definitely excited to get into it with you.
Man, any works of this coaching world, strength and conditioning, group fitness, private sector, whatever it may be, we're all coaches, right? We're all in this industry and we're trying to help others, and we've all had a story. So what got you started in the industry and how did it go for you?
Man, what got me started in the industry? It's a really good question. I think over the years, it's evolved a little bit. I think to even accurately say that I got into the industry, it all goes back a lot further. Like, it goes back to my childhood. It goes back to how I grew up. It goes back to the years of being an overweight kid, but still being an active kid. I played every sport you could think of growing up, but I was overweight doing it. So I always felt like in my head, I felt like I was able to give more than what my body could do. And I think as a young kid, that can mess you up a little bit. That can discourage you a little bit. So I think a lot of that experience tied in with a lot of my educational background, getting into like kinesiology, exercise science, spending time in sports medicine and prehab and rehab and all that. I think all that really developed me into becoming a coach and ultimately wanting to share a lot of not only my knowledge, but a lot of my experience with other people because, and I'm sure you've noticed this as well, everyone kind of experiences a little bit of the same thing. We go through it in different ways, but as coaches, in a way, we kind of break through that experience. We kind of break through to the other side. We find out what works. We find out what doesn't work. We do all this testing. Being able to share with other people, I think, is something that's been a really big blessing in my life, and definitely something that's, as I've done it more, I've found out that it's been my calling. But to answer your question, I'd say it definitely starts from like my childhood, man, for sure.
Right. What was it like going from, like you said, being an active kid, but an overweight kid, and then now you're kind of flipping it onto the other side and you're coaching, and maybe sometimes you do see overweight kids. How are you helping inspire them, keep them motivated, show them the discipline, and also translating it over to your adult members too? Because, I mean, like I said, you're working over at Rumble. Like, you see a lot of adult population. How are you able to mix and mingle what you've done in the past and what you went through to where you are now?
Yeah, that's a great question. My experience working with kids is a little bit more limited. Anytime I was working with kids, it was always just, about uplifting them, helping them enjoy movement. And I think that was something that wasn't highlighted as much when maybe you and I were kids, uh, highlighting just the fact that you're moving your body, whatever it was. I felt like, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? How old are you?
Too.
32. All right. So we're the same age. When we grew up, you got bullied. You know what I'm saying? Let's just keep it a buck. You got
For
bullied.
sure.
Because of that, you know what I'm saying? It kind of like forced you to like move your body a little bit more, like made you feel a little bit more insecure about your movement. But now, in my experience with working with kids, I've always just encouraged them to be like, hey, it's great that you can move your body this way. You don't have to be the strongest, you don't have to be the fastest, but you can get it done. I always try to uplift the kids a little bit more with my adult clients. And I guess this kind of ties in a lot more to my coaching approach now. I really try to help them understand that making that change that they're looking for isn't a 10 package of sessions with me. It's not a 20 package of sessions with me. It's you have to change the 80% of your life outside of coming to see me twice a week or 3 times a week. You have to change how you approach maybe having a poor weekend and wanting to get back on track. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to manage those highs and lows and understand that progress isn't linear. You're going to have ups and downs. Life's going to hit you across your face and you're going to have to adjust. So I think a lot of my coaching now goes towards showing people that it's a lifestyle change, it's a journey, and it's not something that's going to fix in a matter of a 90-day challenge or a 60-day challenge. Those are great and all, but that's not where the big change comes from. So hopefully that answers your question. A little long-winded there, but hopefully that answers your question.
That for sure answers it. Because like you said, you're working on the private sector side of things, and you also are at a group fitness general population place called Rumble. And now a lot of people overseas might not know what Rumble is, right? Rumble is a boxing gym that's kind of got a little. I won't even explain it. I'll let you explain it yourself. But what is it like getting people in that are coming in for those 30-day, 60-day, 90-day challenges? And then also on top of that, balancing your own business too that you're running and clients. So how is it working with the two separate sides, but still a lot of general population?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for your audience, for anybody watching, it's Rumble is a international fitness brand, and they're owned by a larger brand now called Exponential. But it's a group fitness class, and our main thing is boxing and strength training. So inside of our room, we have 20 to 30 heavy bags, and we have half the room that's boxing. The other half of the room, we have weight benches with weights underneath, and people are doing strength training. As the trainer on stage, you're directing both sides of this class. So I'm telling what the strength side to do, coaching and cueing the bag side, and I'm doing all this simultaneously. So you're navigating a room of up to 40 people at a time, and that's been something that's really new for me. I don't have an extensive fitness or group fitness background, so when I jumped into it, it was brand new for me. Being on stage, having a microphone, having this big spotlight on you as you're taking this group through this really fun, exciting workout, it was new for me. It took a little bit of time to get comfortable being on that stage, being yourself and being authentically who you are, because ultimately that's what people want to see. So that took me a little bit of time to navigate that space and to better understand. Luckily, I had a lot of great mentorship through the brand and a lot of people that I could call on to help me out. And to balance that with what I do on my own one-on-one training and my own online coaching, it took some work as well, because there were times where you're burning it at both ends, especially as trainers. You know, we're from sunrise to sunset, we're using our body. So knowing that I might go from like a high intensity group fitness class that's an hour of work and then have maybe one-on-ones before or after that. Not only is it a lot of people facing, right? Being in front of your clients and working with them, which we love to do, but also physically it's just taxing to be on your
Yeah.
feet from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. working the way that we do. So it definitely took trial and error to find balance, to be able to give the best of myself to Rumble, but also prioritize my personal business as number one and be able to focus on building my book of business and having consistent clients coming through my door to see me for my service and the experience that I had to work for. You know, especially with something like boxing, you can't just show up and have it. You have to spar, you have to fight, you have to work, you have to get hit in your face to figure things out. So knowing that I went through all of that, literally the blood, sweat, and tears of boxing to deliver my own service, I always wanted to make sure that I prioritized what I was doing first, but then also have another way that I could, impact other lives with group fitness.
Yeah, you talk a little bit about the balance, and I think that's a hard thing for any coach in any industry, whether in the private sector, in the group fitness, to run their own business, or they're in, college strength and conditioning, pro strength and conditioning. How have you been able to find that balance between work and life and finding time to rest and do what you enjoy outside of coaching? Because I mean, obviously, we all get into coaching because we enjoy it. Not only, sometimes you work your way up and the money becomes good, but there are a lot of hours, like you said, like from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Like a lot of people don't really see that, like how much we're going from place to place, especially if you're not at a central location all the time, right? Like if you're going from Rumble then to your own place that you were training at, your one-on-ones, and then trying to find your own time to work out yourself. Like, how are you finding the balance?
Honestly, I think I'm working on it. I think it's still a work in progress. And as you know, entrepreneurship's new to me. It's not something that grows or that runs in my family. It's something that I had to learn about on my own, and then also seek mentorship to kind of figure out, how do I do this? How do I even figure this out? And I think that's something that can be overlooked jumping into training or coaching of any kind, because it is your own business. Yeah, we may not have brick and mortars or like these storefronts, but when people come see you, that is your storefront. And then also knowing that, we have these working hours, but we can't be open 24/7. We're just one person. So I think it's something that I'm definitely working on. I'll definitely throw credit to my wife. I recently married back in August.
Congratulations.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, really, really happy about that and really excited. But I definitely credit my wife with helping me separate work from home, giving me an opportunity, like when I'm here, to be here with her, and when I'm not, to handle my business and do my thing. And I think that's a helpful reminder from her, just to, like, when I'm home, we can kick it, we can cook dinner together, spend some time together, catch up during the day. And that helps me balance the two and also separate the two in a way. So I'm not bringing too much back home, but I'll be honest, I'm not great with it. It's definitely something that I personally challenge myself to work on more, and something that I want to prioritize continuing to move forward. But I would definitely say it's still a challenge for me. What about you? I'm curious to hear your experience.
Yeah, my experience is pretty similar. I mean, I'm just now transitioning from the playing side into work life and still trying to figure out, how to not be an athlete. And I think that's another hard thing that, I'm talking about in a whole other podcast called Life After Ball, is just like how to go into what they consider now the real world, and then figuring out that balance that we talk about in work life. And it's just like, I don't want to lose my competitive side. I don't want to lose my hustle side, but there is a time that you've got to shut it off. And I use that on Sundays as my day that I kind of just shut off. right? Like I don't think about work, I don't program or anything like that. It's just like my alone time. And I try to like just distract myself from anything that's going to be related to D1, and that's hard, but it's one of those things that I kind of think you need to give yourself, because we get involved in it so much. You know, we want to see ourselves be great at everything. You've got a great example right behind you with Nipsey Hussle, right? That is a true entrepreneur himself, right? A guy that nonstop hustled and all the time. But I think there's also a time that we got to take time to enjoy the things that we've also worked very hard for. And I think you just gotta kind of take a day. Now, I don't love the day, right? I enjoy it, but I don't love it because you feel like you fall behind, right?
Yeah.
And you feel
Yeah.
like you feel like somebody's outworking you in that time. But I think about the times I am working, how much can I make those hours worth it? So I think
Right.
if you kind of flip the mindset, then it kind of gives you a little bit of time to ease into things and allow, stuff to come to you and not feel like, hey, you're far behind because you took a day off. No, there's like, you need that day off. So on the days that you are working and those hours that you are putting in are worth it, and you're going 100% at them. So I think that's the best way to look at it. And it's also, like I said, that transition from being an athlete to now like full-time coach and general manager is that,
Hmm.
what am I training for? You know, obviously for me, it's training to show the kids that the program that I'm putting them through actually works, right? That even though at 32 I can still do the same things that I'm putting them through, and also knowing what it's going to do to the body, so I can speak on it and speak to them about it and be fully bought in. I think that really helps. But yeah, it's a never ending cycle on trying to find balance.
It really is. I think you made a good point too, because shifting mindset, right? Like you said, being a former athlete, not only are you used to like a schedule from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, but also that same thing that you said, if I'm not working on this part of my craft, somebody else is, and they're getting better than me. And I think the mindset shift happens with becoming an entrepreneur, and more so you see the entrepreneurial mindset of being like, okay, give yourself a 4 hour work block or a 2 hour work block and like nail out your work and do it in a set amount of time. And then feel free to go on to other things because you hyper focused in this amount of time. I feel like I read a lot of self-help books and like personal development books and a lot of books on entrepreneurship, and I see a lot of them really talk about hyper focusing on pockets of time, getting your work done in like 45-minute blocks, hour blocks, and then getting away from your work so that way you can feel refreshed and then come back to what you're doing, as opposed to like, damn, if I'm rested now, then somebody's getting better than me here. If I don't put out this piece of social media or marketing, oh, someone's going to get this client, then it's like that can be like the athlete mindset about it, but then we have to switch to like the entrepreneur mindset of like, okay, I can hyper focus, get work done, and then boom, spend my time, hyper focus, get work done, and then go from there. So yeah, that's interesting to
And
hear.
it's tough right now because we're in a world where everything is publicized, right? Like every little step that people are taking, I wouldn't even say every step, is really glorified on how they make the success, the end story, right? Nobody's really fully telling you the step by step process. And then we see it all on social media. So then we compare ourselves like, oh man, this person was in the same situation I was in, and now they're here. But we're not really seeing the in between part, right? And that's the hard
Right.
part about entrepreneurship. Like nobody tells you that it's not going to be like a straight line. Like it's
Yeah,
literally like a roller coaster, and everything that life is. That's what entrepreneurship is. It is never a straight line or a straight path to where you're trying to get to. There's so many ups and downs, and there's days that you're like, man, I don't know why I'm doing this. You know,
absolutely. I agree. There's so many parallels between the two, and finding a lot of joy in what you're doing, I've definitely found has been super helpful for me, because like the comparison can definitely kill your momentum and definitely like distract you a little bit from what you're doing. So I think taking the time to really enjoy what you're doing, seeing it as, I truly see it as like my God given like purpose for being here is to help people and to teach people and to coach them and to give them that little bit of insight that I feel like I figured out for myself and to extend it to others. Cause we talk to with people, you have these conversations every single day with people. The most simple, easy thing that we do every single day takes the most gut wrenching work for some people to do. You know what I'm saying? And knowing that, it kind of makes it like feel like, damn, I kind of have this superpower that other people like will not only pay me for, but really appreciate it and will ultimately have a huge impact on their life. So even really tapping into the joy of what you're doing, I feel like can help out with fighting maybe some of that, the comparison.
for sure. Who are some of your mentors? Who are the people that you're kind of looking up to and getting advice from, and kind of helping you guide you through this crazy path of entrepreneurship and being a coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've had mentors. I have and had mentors. Most of them were at a distance a little bit in a way. I would say Nip's always been a big mentor of mine. I grew up in the Bay Area, so I've been listening to his music since I was a kid. So through his music, through the interviews, ingesting a lot of the way he lived his life was definitely a big mentor to me. From a coaching perspective, there's a coach down in South Florida. His name's Kevin Gleason, and we've been tapped in with each other through social media. And I had an opportunity to go down there and work with him this past fall. Oh no, this past summer, I guess I should say, and just work with him, pick his brain a little bit. But he's always been like very receiving of me. Like anytime I ask him questions or just like pick his brain on anything, he's always been like, there just like give me a little input and just like holler at me for a second, which I really appreciated. And then one of my good friends, Larry, he's my business partner. We actually share the space that we rent out here in Nashville. Another person who's been a mentor to me in terms of not only independent training, but just like the sport of boxing, because he's been boxing for like 15 years. He's a professional fighter. He's a hometown guy. He's from Mount Juliet here in Nashville. So he's been like a wealth of knowledge to have him around me for the past couple of years to help me learn more about the sport, learn more about networking, and just working with different people. So I've had a good mix of mentors. I would say some of them are at a distance, but then a couple that are actually like near and close to me.
That's awesome. I mean, if we look back, like we talked about in our childhood, if we think about like the strength conditioning coaches back then, nobody was really sharing knowledge like they are now. Like,
gatekeeping.
yeah, yes. I mean, obviously there's a lot of knowledge and stuff posted on social media, but back then I don't remember a lot of coaches like actually getting together and talking about their journey and the path and, what they've been through, and also just sharing like why they piece their workouts together the way they do. I think it's super awesome nowadays that everybody's kind of coming together and kind of figuring out like we don't make it in this crazy world of life unless we work together. And I think that's what's so great about this podcast is just like working with other coaches and hearing that we all are going through kind of the same thing, even though we might be on different walks of life. We're all doing this coaching thing, and we have that imposter syndrome. We have that doubt of like, was that program the right one that we ran? Like, did we put our athlete in the best situation possible? But then like you get those success stories and you're like, all right, like, yeah, I'm doing what I need to be doing. And like, even with entrepreneurship, you know what I mean? Like, are there days that other guys are going through being broke and like still trying to, find clients and everything? And then how did you make it a success? Like there's so many people that are going through the same stuff though. So it's awesome to hear that like you have your own mentors, but other people are also just sharing these stories.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that is a good thing. I think that's one of the powerful things of social media is that people are being not only more willing to share for like themselves and like to share their knowledge or for their business or whatever, but people are sharing resources. People are doing more like live clinics. There is more opportunity to get free resources and free knowledge for people to be able to continue to level up their skills as coaches. I feel like there's always a new way to cue something or coach something up or a new way to program. And it's, I guess, one of those things with now, like you said, we have so much access to information. Free information is everywhere as long as you're going to go look for it. I think it's also a really great thing that people who are more experienced are looking to give back to younger coaches a little bit more. I feel like now, like whether it's through their platforms or like running clinics or having like these private chats, whatever it is that they're doing, they're at least more willing to give it out and give it away. So that way people can continue to level up their game and, nothing's really like a secret anymore. I feel like either, it's like if you want to find something out, you can. Like you might have a really great program that's the same exact program as another coach, but somebody likes your personality more. That's why they're going to train with you, or they connect with you more, and that's why they're going to train with you. So it's like program to program is going to differ, but sometimes it's more like who are you, because who you are is going to like secure your business, your future. Your clients are going to enjoy you more. And I always like to think as long as people walk out of that door with a smile on their face, and I did my job. Because I'll tell you one thing about imposter syndrome. Group fitness has been a tough one for me. Because there have been so many times where I've walked out of a space and I've been like, bro, what was I doing today? Like, what was I saying? What was I thinking? Like, that didn't, like, why was I trying to tell jokes? Like, what's going on? But
And you mic'd
then,
up too, so everybody hear
and
everything.
I'm mic'd up. So everybody's hearing it, right? But then, I'll think all that. And then class will finish and people are walking out the door and it's just like smile, smiles, smiles. Oh yeah, thanks. I needed that. Boom, boom. They can get on to the rest of the day. And it's like, nobody cares. Nobody cares like if you're missing a step or a beat or nothing like that, and it's those reminders that let you know it's that imposter syndrome can weigh down on a lot of our happiness and our joy.
For sure. Where's Coach Julian going in all of this? Where do you see yourself projecting in the whole industry, and where do you plan to go with your business?
So for me, I've always had a vision of being able to own and operate my own space. I think a lot of coaches definitely see that as being like one of their end goals. And I won't speak for everybody, but I think a lot of people do want to have their own space where they can train and work and interact with their clients. And I do, in the grand scheme of things, see that being my reality, having a space where I'm working with my clients, having a space where younger trainers can build up their clientele and build up their business in a good environment for them to do it, where they learn about paying rent, where they learn about managing clients, where they learn about all the things that we have to learn about on a day-to-day basis. So I see it being like, a full approach to wellness, but I would ultimately like to see myself owning and operating a space privately, nothing too big, nothing too crazy. But that's definitely what comes to mind. And yeah, I'd say that. I'll say that right there. And in terms of the vision for that, I definitely see it being something not just training, but I would love for it to be like a wellness space where people can come in and maybe get financial advice, or maybe come in and get mental health advice, and then maybe come in one day and see a chiropractor or a physical therapist, and then maybe another day they come in and they want to box. So seeing a lot more than just our physical health, but a full, I guess, a comprehensive view of health under one roof.
I love it. Like Nipsey said, you got to put it in motion.
Hey man, yeah.
So one question we had from one of our former guests that I wanted to ask is, are you training yourself? Why are you training yourself? And what are you trying to find out of that training?
Yes, I'm definitely training myself every week. I have a structured training plan that I go through for myself. It's a mix of strength training and boxing. I would say the strength training is for my longevity, to keep my body strong. Holding mitts, moving around with my clients, letting people hit you with the body protector on, it takes a toll on your body. So the strength training is kind of to build my body armor to be able to deliver my service. But it's also for my own personal health reasons. I have fitness goals that I want to hit for myself. I have a certain level of strength I want to maintain. I have a weight where I feel comfortable, a percentage of body fat where I feel healthy at, and aligns with my blood work as well. So I want to maintain those goals by strength training. I do the boxing because I love it. I will never stop boxing. I'll always train boxing. Not only is it a therapeutic release for me, but it's a sport that you can never master. And if you look at it that way, you'll always have fun with your training. So there's always something to work on. There's always something to do. So the strength training and the boxing, but I would say the strength training is definitely for my body, for my health. The boxing is for continuing to keep my practice sharp, because again, I'm delivering this to people. And as much as I love the sport, I respect the sport more. So anybody I work with, I want them to be a reflection of like how I teach the sport. So I don't want to see anybody out here doing, crazy hooks and punches and being super off balance. Everyone has to put their work in and their time in to get good with the sport. But I always like to make sure that I give everybody a good foundational base that they can build off and have an understanding of like the sport. Because at the end of the day, I definitely want to respect boxing and what it is, because I have a huge amount of respect for it, a huge amount of love for it. So when I'm delivering it to people, I always want to deliver it to them the right way, so that way they can build on it as much as they want if they have a good foundation.
I love it.
There was one more question I believe you said.
What are you trying to find?
Oh, what am I trying to find by doing my training?
Yeah,
Ultimately, for me, I just want to find the best version of myself, mentally, physically, spiritually, and I feel I find a lot of that through training my body, because in that same way, you're training your mind as well, and you're going to find out things about yourself when you don't want to wake up early, when you don't want to go to the gym, when it feels extra heavy today. You're going to find out a lot about yourself in those moments. So yeah, I think for me, it's to find out that best version of myself.
what is something you would want us to ask our next guest?
Something I want you to ask your next guest. I like this question. Well, this might be cliche and it might have already been asked before, but I would want you to ask your next guest, what is something that they know now that they wish they could tell themselves when they first got started? Just one piece of advice that they know now, however many years they are into coaching, that they wish they could tell themselves when they first got started.
Got it. And what would you tell yourself?
You know what I would tell myself? I would tell myself to have more conviction in the very beginning. I think I grappled a lot with the imposter syndrome, stepping from like a corporate world into training full time and being an entrepreneur. There's definitely a lot of times early on where I was doubting myself and I didn't know if I had something to give to the space and be able to offer to people. So I would tell myself just to have more conviction in what I was doing, the experience that I had, the work that I put into myself up to that point, and just trust that, one step at a time, you're going to get it done.
There it is, Coach. And that is it for today. Coach, you got to tell us when you're coaching some classes so I can come by and check it out. right? Put the mitts on, check out some of the strength training you got going over there, because you're right down the street from me, man. So I got to come check you out.
Absolutely. For private training, it's any day of the week. We can chat offline about that, and you can get it locked in. For Rumble, I teach at Rumble Tuesday mornings at 6 a.m., Thursday at 10 a.m. and 5:30, Friday at 6 a.m. and 12:15, and then my most popular class is on Sunday at 9:30 in the Gulch.
Say less. All right, Coach. We appreciate you coming in. Appreciate you dropping some knowledge, and appreciate you dropping some gems for us today. And like Nipsey said, baby, the marathon continues.
Hey, man, absolutely. Marathon continues. I appreciate you making the space and the time for me, and we'll definitely talk soon for sure, bro. Appreciate you.
All right.